Hello guys, my name is Sangeeta Mehta and you're watching my channel My English Magazine. Today I explain to you infinitive. What are infinitives and how do you use them? It's a very important question. Many students tell me that ma'am please ex- explain the infinitives and how do you we use them in English writing. So now I explain to you first of all. Infinitives are a special form of verbs that can be used as a noun, adjective, or adverb. They are usually made by adding the word to before the base verb, and they can be useful when discussing actions without actually doing the action, such as I want to go home or to er is a human. The infinitive form is crucial to English and many other languages, but the grammar rules for infinitive can be tricky. To the guide, we explain all about the different types of infinitives and how to use them, including clear infinitive examples, so you can see how they work. What is an infinitive? So I explain to you what is an infinitive. This is a very common and this is very important to all of you. So now I explain to you that about the infinitive. This is a question. What is an infinitive and what it functions? So these are my notes also. So which are the essential part for grammar? I explain to you, and those words which are not lead with the question, which are not deal with the question, they are in not necessary, so I remove them. Now I explain to you. Usually infinitive are formed by adding the word to before the base form of the verb, as in to be, but sometimes the base form of the verb is used alone. We explain more in the next session. The purpose of infinitives is to discuss an action in general instead of a specific instance of the action being done. For example, take a look at these two sentences. I need to win. Today we win. The first sentence uses the infinitive form of the verb win as a noun. The main verb of the sentence is actually need. The second sentence uses the standard form of win as an actionable verb. In the first sentence with the infinitive, the action of winning is not actually done. The sentence simply discusses the idea of winning. The second sentence, however, describes the action of winning. What are the types of infinitives? There are two main types of infinitives: full infinitives and bare infinitives. Below, we explain when and how to use each. Full infinitives. Full infinitives, also known as two infinitives, are the most common infinitives in writing. You can create a full infinitive by taking the base form of a verb and adding to in front of it. For example, the verb be, which is often conjugated to is, are, was, were, etc., becomes the full infinitive. To be, as in Shakespeare's famous infinitive example from Hamlet. To be or not to be. Full infinitive are used in the following situation: to show purpose or intention. Infinitive are used to explain why someone is doing something, often replacing the phrase in order to. In this case, they act as adverbs to describe the main verb. Mom left to buy milk. I am writing this email to tell you something important. Did you come to college to study or to party? Unlike an adverbial clause, an infinitive phrase used as an adverb does not need an active verb. To modify nouns, just like how full infinitives can add extra information about verbs, they can also modify the meanings of nouns. In the case they act as adjective and adjective phrases. We need a hero to save us. Would you like something to drink? It was a dumb thing to say, and I regret it. As the subject of a sentence, if you want to talk about an action in general as the subject of the sentence, use the full infinitive form. To love someone requires patience and understanding. To go, this late seems pointless. To unlearn is the highest form of learning. After adjective, full infinitive can add context or extra description when used after adjective. I'm happy to be here. Isn't it nice to leave the city? Computers are easy to use with practice. With the words to or enough. When using the adverb to and enough, we use the full infinitive to explain why in these cases the infinitive is often unnecessary, but it's nonetheless a helpful addition if the sentence is vague. I have too many books to fit in my backpack. We collected enough firewood to last the winter. They were old enough to vote but not to drink. Phrase with most relative pronouns. Use the full infinitive in phrases. They start with one of the relative pronouns who, whom, what, where, when, and how. But now why? But not why. I don't understand how to beat the level 5 boss. Playing card is about knowing when to hold them and when to fold them. Here's a list of whom to call in an emergency. Keep in mind that you only use full infinitives when relative pronouns are used as phrases but not typically when used for questions. I don't know what to do with the certain verbs. Certain verbs always use the full infinitive. If they are followed by a verb form, these words can still be used without an infinitive at all, but if they use an infinitive, it should be the full infinitive. Afford, agree, aim, appear, arrange, attempt, beg, care, choose, claim, condensed, constant, demand, determine, expect, fail, guarantee, happen, have, hesitate, hope, learn, long, manage, mean, need, neglect, often, plan, prepare, pretend, proceed, promise, refuse, resolve, seem, threaten, trouble, undertake, used, volunteer, vow, want, wish. Rare infinitive. What is the rare infinitive? Now I explain to you rare infinitive. What is the rare infinitive? Bare infinitives. This is bare infinitive. Bare, B-A-R-E, bare infinitives. Bare infinitives, also known as zero infinitives, are formed without to you simply use the base form of a verb within a sentence. As you can imagine, this gets confusing, but thankfully bare infinitives are less common than full infinitives. Bare infinitives are used in the following situation. After modal verbs. When using an infinitive after modal verbs, you don't need to include two common modal verbs. Include can, may, might, could, should, would, will, and must. Iggy can do this all day. We might be late tonight. You must not mention politics when talking to my father. After perception verbs. Perception verbs see, hear, taste, feel, etc. Use bare infinitives when their object takes an action. In this case, the order to main verb object bare infinitive. I heard the car arrive before I saw it. They felt the ants crawl on their arm. She watched the woman on their aim. She watched the woman in the red dress walk across the dance floor. These constructions are related to infinitive phrases, which we explain in detail in the final section. With the words let, make, and do, just like certain verbs always use the full infinitive. A few verbs always use the bare infinitive. These include the common verbs let, make, and do. Keep in mind the verbs let and make often use a different object which comes between them and the bare infinitive. Let me work in peace. He made him promise to behave. I don't drink coffee in the evening. With the relative pronoun why, while the other relative pronouns use the full infinitive form, the word why uses the bare infinitive, especially when used to make suggestions in the form of a question. Why wear a raincoat when it's sunny outside? Why not ask for directions? Why bother? How do you use an infinitive? While we already covered the main uses for both infinitive forms, there is some infinitive grammar that we haven't covered yet. Below, we explain 3 key areas for understanding infinitive grammar: split infinitives, passive infinitives, and continuous infinitive. Split infinitives. A split infinitive is a full infinitive that contains an adverb or adverbial phrase between to and the base verb, such as to hungrily eat. Split infinitives are a debated topic among grammatists, with some saying they should be avoided and others saying others nothing wrong with them. There's no official answer or whether or not they are correct. In most cases, we recommend avoiding them when you can and using them only in some scenarios. In general, you can communicate more clearly when you keep related words next to each other. So, if you can move the adverb after the infinitive and it still makes a sense, that's probably best. This app help you. So now I explain everything related to the infinitive. Now I explain to you passive infinitive. Like other verbs, infinitives can also be written in the passive voice. In the passive construction, the subject of the verb becomes the receiver of the action instead of the doer. For passive infinitives, instead of the base verb, use the word be plus the past participle. For example, if you want to turn to do into a passive infinitive, use to be done. You can use passive infinitives with both full infinitives and bare infinitives. I was hoping to be given an A on my paper. She expected to be thrown the ball since she was open. Both doors should be locked at night. Continuous infinitives. Like verbs in the continuous tense, continuous infinitives represent an ongoing action instead of the base form of the verb. Continuous infinitive use the word be plus the present participle, the ing form, for example, to make the infinitive to be, to do, into a continuous infinitive use to be doing. Just the passive infinitives, continuous infinitives can be used for both full infinitives and bare infinitives. I did prefer to be sleeping right now. It would be a nightmare to be waiting outside in the storm. You must be joking. Infinitive versus pre prepositional phrase. Because infinitives are often used to be careful, confusing them with the prepositional phrases. To is a common preposition, but the use in infinitive is different. When to is used in prepositional phrases, it always taken a noun as an objective. We are going to the pool tomorrow. Roger confessed his love to the cashier. When to is used is an infinitive, it's followed by a verb. Even if the infinitive acts as a noun, it still contains the base form of a verb. We want to swim tomorrow. Roger tried to tell the cashier he loved her. You can learn more about how to use to as a preposition in our previous guide on to verses for infinitive versus gerunds. Infinitives are not the only verb form that can be used as a noun. A gerund is a verb in the present participle form that also acts as a noun, although sometimes infinitives and gerunds are interchangeable. On a couple occasions, only one is correct. Only gerunds can be the object of preposition. So today I explain enough. In my next lecture I explain to more about the infinitive. Thank you all of you. Thank you guys.